Life care managers are like a wedding planner for your health and wellness. They can provide plentiful resources for wherever you are in your health journey. Hi, everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of Thriving at Home. My name is Paul Orlando. I am the community liaison for Right at Home. And with me today, I have my good friend and proud partner, Steve Gale with the Option Group. Steve?
Thanks, Paul. Morning. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes, so thank you, Steve, for joining us today. We have a great video. The Option Group is one of our favorite people to work with. They provide some excellent and amazing services for not only the geriatric population, but for anyone of all ages. They are here to provide whatever you need. And so, Steve, to jump in right away, did you want to start with just some of the history of the Option Group and maybe how you got started, a little bit about yourself?
I really started my career in the senior living realm. 2006, started in senior living. You know, my family was the family that benefited from services in senior living and assisted living for years. My mom was a caregiver, and when we found a community for my grandmother, I saw what that did for her and for our family. And I kind of transitioned right into one of the communities that she lived in and started my career there. So I always was able to see kind of the family side of things and what that did from an emotional standpoint, what these types of services can do for families just to make their lives easier, take the burden off of family caregivers, and get the quality of life back for not just the loved one dealing with their health condition, but also for the family members that are doing the caregiving.
Yeah. And I always like to say in our industry, we're in the peace of mind business. We're not, we're in healthcare, but we're in the peace of mind business. And because we take care of and we serve not only our clients, but also their families. So that's amazing. That's amazing. And then with the Option Group. So tell me a little bit about the Option Group and, give me a broad spectrum of what you all do there.
Originally, the Option Group started as geriatric care management. Ellen Platt is the owner of the Option Group. Before I joined her team, I always respected her and kind of what she did for families and finding them services in the communities that they didn't even know existed. And that's not just in the senior living realm, but, that's primarily at first helping families that are living at home, caregiving for a family member at home, typically, and really don't know where to turn. They've exhausted all of their resources, mentally. They don't know where else to look for resources in the community that can help them. And that's what the Option Group does. We are made up of social worker and nurse care managers that are connecting folks in the community with various types of services to allow them to stay at home safely for a longer period of time, which just tends to be what families want to try to do initially. The one thing I like about our services that we do for families, it is health related. It's a lot of connecting with home health services. It's a lot of connecting with specialists in the community. Our social worker and nurse care managers can do transport to and from doctor's appointments so they can help families with the follow-ups if they can't, be there on their own. Really, we work as the boots on the ground for families that may not be local. They may just not have the time or knowledge to do some of these things on their own, even though as family members, they really try. It's nice to have an expert, in their corner. But we always tell families, it's not just that healthcare part, the way we think about healthcare. It's also connecting with elder law resources to get affairs in order. It's financial planners so we can make sure we're ready for what's coming down the road from a financial standpoint. It's home modifications. That's a way that folks can stay home safely for way longer than they may be able to if they, didn't or weren't able to make certain modifications to their home. So I think the knowledge in these conversations from the care managers really goes a long way in helping families kind of really complete the goal. If it's to stay home, it's to stay home. If they ultimately need to find a community in senior living, we help them with that too.
Yes. And that's why I love the wedding planner analogy, because you all take each case and each client and look not just for the immediate future, but what is 3 years going to look like, 5 years, 10 years? How can we plan and get everything set up to make sure that this person is living exactly how they want to live. And we have worked with you guys on multiple cases. We bring in all the time because we're like, I have no idea how to answer this, but I know somebody who does. Let me get Steve on the phone. And so we really appreciate all that you all do.
Absolutely.
For our clients.
Well, I will say, the wedding planner analogy, I was telling you earlier, I'll give a shout out to Steve Gurney on that, because I heard him say that, and it actually really couldn't be more true, because, you think about all those things, and we do talk to families quite a bit. The services that I mentioned, that's just a few that we help people with. We help connect them with many more, especially these days. Families sometimes think, we can do those things on our own. The same as when you're, planning that wedding. You could find the caterer and the DJ, and you can do all that on your own. But do you know really where to look for it? Do you have the time to look? Could your time be better spent, doing other things for that situation, or leading up to that event, or if you're the caregiver? So we just try to make people's lives easier by getting them to their resources quicker, knowing who the best people are in different areas and different genres of healthcare.
Great. So Steve, let me ask you, when a family kind of identifies that, maybe we should get some, professional help in here, what does that process look like on your end for when you receive that initial phone call? Absolutely.
And I know there tends to be some anxiety from a family standpoint, really around any of these topics, because it's a heavy topic. It's something they've been thinking about for quite some time. And typically they would get referred to us from another professional that has worked with, us or another care management team in the past, we'll say. Lots of our referrals come from, home care teams like yours, elder law attorneys, financial planners. They tend to be where we get majority of our referrals. And we tell them when they're kind of communicating this to families, everybody that calls, it's a free 30-minute phone consultation. We spend time talking to those families, whether it's Ellen, the owner of the company, doing it herself, or it's our clinical supervisor who has over 50 years of nursing experience, having a 30-minute chat with this family to really determine, is this something you need? Maybe you don't need us to guide you through this situation right now. It could be really as simple as, this is an attorney that we recommend, and if you need to get your affairs in order, this might be all you need right now. You're actually, pretty stable. But 30 minutes, with either one of them is a gold mine. That's a conversation that you can't really get on Google just by a quick search. You really have to get into some of your specifics and what you're dealing with and kind of what's been going on. So that gives families tons of peace of mind to know that that's a no strings attached conversation. If a family determines after that conversation that it is something that would benefit them, and they would like to work with our care managers on, a more consistent basis, we take it a step further with the consult, and we do a holistic assessment of that person that we'll be giving care to, and really the family situation as a whole. I know we talked a little bit about, it's not all strictly healthcare related. Mm-hmm. We're not doing the hands-on care. We're referring it to a home care agency if that's what they need. If they need to get the affairs in order, we're referring it to an elder law attorney. And there could be, hundreds of ways that conversation could go. But if we're going to work with that family, we spend a couple hours doing a holistic assessment to really determine at that point what's the best course of action when moving forward.
Yes, and the one thing that I really love that you all do is you guys can handle the family dynamics and bring that professional opinion in there. I know when you all worked with my grandfather, my mom is one of 10, for those of you who don't know, and that's a lot of hands in the pot when trying to figure out, exactly what to do. And Ellen and her team came in and just kind of set the guidelines and made it such an easy conversation on the next steps and how to move forward. So I couldn't agree more. That 30-minute conversation is an absolute gold mine. It's things like you said, you can't find on Google. It's very, very important that 30 minutes could change the outlook of that person's future.
Absolutely. If you think about your situation, that's a lot of chairs at the table for a consult, or that's a lot of screens on a Zoom for the consult. And just to make that conversation run smoothly. I think it can be very eye-opening for families that sometimes have all been caregivers. Sometimes they haven't all been caregivers, and that makes it difficult too, because, you know, everybody has an opinion on what they want the next part of that loved one's life to look like. So to have a professional that can really line up those resources and have families be able to view that in a more clear manner, I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Steve, we have gone over what the Option Group does, a brief history. We've learned a little bit about you, and I know that there's some very exciting new things happening at the Option Group that necessarily aren't specifically tailored to older adults. Would you like to fill us in on some of the new ventures that TOG has going on?
Absolutely. This has been just about a year that we've been, you know, working with these type of services. So now we do have a pediatric portion to our business, primarily educational advocacy, where we are assisting families that are in the school system, you know, have children with special needs, any type of learning disabilities, you know, physical disabilities that need to get services from the school system and might not know how to go about that. There was a group that has been doing this work for many years that we worked with on a referral basis back and forth. And that group was called Ask an ACEs, and that was run by Mary Jo Siebert. So her and Ellen have had a relationship for quite some time. And last summer, they joined the Option Group and are now, we're all under one roof. So families that we used to work with in the past that were working with Mary Jo, and, you know, they were helping families build IEP programs and get those services and, you know, help families have those conversations with the school system to get those services in place. When they age out of the school system, you know, they now need adult services. And then they were in the same boat that they were in when they were trying to get the pediatric services. They didn't know where to look. They found Mary Jo. And now Mary Jo would, you know, refer them to us. Just based off of how referrals work from business to business, you know, there's still that the consultation process, the assessment process that goes along, and, you know, a slight gap sometimes in services when that would happen. So now being all under one roof, you know, those families have been our clients because they're working with the pediatric side already. And when they do age out of the school system, they can seamlessly transition to the adult side, and we can get them the adult services that make it possible for them to launch. You know, are they going to get a job? Can they live on their own? How is this going to look after they get out of the school system? And that's what we help them do, both from a pediatric standpoint, transitioning right into their adult services.
Yes, that's incredible. And now that you all can cover the entire spectrum, starting, you know, with the pediatrics and going all the way to the older adults is just amazing. And I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. I know that you guys are going to continue to make such an impact on our community. So that's awesome. All right. Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of Thriving at Home. If you want to learn more about the Option Group, the website is right there. Please dive in. And then if you want to also connect with Steve and reach out for a one-on-one, I know he would be happy to connect with anyone. His LinkedIn and other social medias will be there. Feel free to reach out to him. And be on the lookout. The next time Steve and I get together, we will be bringing Ellen Platt into the fold, and we will be hearing all about her insights and her expertise with her experience on working with the community. So that wraps it up for today. Thank you all for joining. As always, my name is Paul Orlando. I'm the community liaison for Right at Home. I appreciate you tuning in here. And Steve, thanks for joining us. I look forward to the next one where we take a deeper dive with Ellen.
Paul, thanks for giving us this platform. It's very helpful. This is just another way that families can learn about resources that are out there, you know, not just from us, but everybody that you chat with. So thanks.
Thank you.